Resourceful Designer, episode 229. Invest in yourself.
Welcome to the Resourceful Designer podcast, offering solutions to streamline your graphic and web design business so you can get back to designing. And now, your host. He could never get the hang of PHP coding, Mark Descote.
So true, Wayne, so true. That's why I rely on people like Brian in the Resourceful Designer community. I stick to what I'm good at and let those who are good at the things that I'm not do those things for me. Anyways, in this episode of Resourceful Designer, I'm going to talk about how you need to make yourself a priority if you plan on succeeding in this business. And I'm going to share a tip of the week for getting out of, let's call it, unwanted situations. Now, what have I been up to this week? Well, I actually had two very interesting things happen, or not, I don't know if I should say things happen, but two very interesting scenarios come up that I'd never encountered before. One is I was asked to consult on a website for a podcaster, but this podcaster is blind. And I don't know if you're familiar with podcast websites. The best podcast websites have a player on the website for you to listen to the episode. Like if you go to resourcefuldesigner.com, right on the homepage is the player with the most recent episode. And if you go to each individual episode page, there's a player for that episode on the page. Well, it turns out that most of these players are not accessible for the blind, meaning when they go to the website and they're using their screen reader, they can't find the player in order to press play and listen to the episode. So I've been doing a little bit of digging, and so far I haven't found any that specifically say they are accessible. I found a few of them that kind of work, but it's a really interesting rabbit hole I've been going down trying to find this sort of thing. Accessibility is something I've always been aware of, but I've never actually had to deal with it as much as I am right now. Now, I'm not actually building this website. They have somebody else building, but because the person building the website is not familiar with podcasts, they hired me as a consultant to look over the site and help them out. So I've been doing a little bit of digging. If you happen to know of a podcast player, whether it's a plugin or something that is accessible for the visually impaired, please let me know. Send me an email at feedback@resourcefuldesigner.com. Now, the other situation I ran into, and this one is kind of, I chalk it up to a learning experience and a mistake I'm not going to make again in the future. I had a consulting call with another client for her podcast website, and she had started building a website, and she's not a designer and all that, and she was running into some problems. So at first she got on a consulting call with me and then decided that she wanted to hire me. Now, normally I offer two different services. I offer to host the website, in which case I charge a maintenance package where I charge them a monthly basis to manage and update and upkeep their website for them. Or I can build the website and put it on the server of the person's choice. So she told me that she couldn't afford my monthly maintenance and asked if it was okay if I just build the website and put it onto her WordPress hosting. And I said, sure, no problem. So we signed the contract. I got paid up front because I get paid up front for all these jobs. And then it turns out that when she said her current website that she was building was on WordPress, she meant WordPress.com. And that is something I've never ran into this situation before. And in hindsight, I probably should have, or at least known about it. But when she said her website was built on WordPress, I just presumed she meant that it was built using WordPress, not that it was built on WordPress.com. Now, it turns out that she didn't know what the difference was between WordPress and WordPress.com, which I can understand. A lot of people might not if they're not in our industry, but that threw me for a loop. But it turns out the situation isn't as bad as I thought. All it took was for her to upgrade her current plan to the business plan, and WordPress.com, which I didn't even know, now allows you to upload your own themes and plugins as long as they're on the business plan or higher. So she didn't want to switch anything over. It's actually more expensive this way than just getting a host like SiteGround and purchasing it for one site, but she wanted to stay on WordPress.com for some reason. And since I'm not maintaining the site, I build it wherever she wanted. So that's where she told me to go. So I'm in the process of starting that now. So a little bit different. I'll probably report back to you and let you know how things go with that build because I've never built a website on WordPress.com before. But at least I get to put my own plugins and install Divi on there, which should be a big help. Besides those two situations, I've been working on a couple of websites. I have one new website to do for a client as well for the same client to just do a refresh. He wants a kind of a fresher look to his current website. So it's 2 different projects for the same client. I've also did a few more consulting calls. This whole consulting thing is turning out to be quite lucrative for me. And it's funny that I hadn't even considered offering this until people started approaching me after I did my Podfest Summit presentation. And then people reached out and asked, do you do consulting? And now I've been getting a bunch of them. So you never know. So that's a little bit of what I've been up to this past week. Now I want to take just a quick moment to discuss the Resourceful Designer community and just let you know what a pleasure it is to be in there. I'm recording this right now on Friday afternoon, and this morning we had our weekly video chat, our meetup, just to catch up and see how things are doing, how people are doing. And we had a great time. Found out that some of the community members, actually a few of the community members, have been doing work for each other, reaching out to hire one another to do different tasks for them, which is a nice, very nice byproduct of this whole community that I built. These people are getting to know each other. They're getting to trust each other enough that they are hiring them to do stuff for them. On top of that, the conversations in the Slack group are going on. We've got people helping each other, answering questions, critiquing work, even sharing awards. Zach, a community member, shared an award he had won. So congratulations to you, Zach. And overall, it's just like one big happy family. Now, if that's something that you are looking for, if you are looking for like-minded designers, people that are on a similar path to you, wanting to improve themselves, to grow their business, and you're looking for a community that doesn't have all the BS or drama that you might find in other places like the Facebook group, then why not consider joining the Resourceful Designer community? Visit resourcefuldesigner.com/community to join. And now, this week's tip of the week. And this week's tip doesn't really come from me. I actually read it somewhere else, and I thought this is a really good one to share with you. This was a tip that came from Steve Kamb, who is the founder of nerdfitness.com. Now, if you're not familiar with that, nerdfitness.com is as the name suggests, it's a fitness website for nerds that just took off. And the founder, Steve, he is making a fortune on this website because he found a niche that was in need and decided to tackle it. Well, anyways, his tip was the best and most polite excuse in order to get out of a situation is to simply say that you have a rule. In other words, you can say something like, sorry, I have a rule that I don't make any decisions like this on the phone. Or I have a rule that I don't accept verbal approvals. I need it in writing. I have a rule that I don't consult for free. I have a rule that I don't correspond with clients after 5 p.m. We live in a society governed by rules, and people have been brought up to respect rules. So when you say that you have a rule for something, people are automatically conditioned to accept it. And they know that, it's not you that's rejecting their offer, their request, their demand, or their opportunity. It's not you that's rejecting them, but the rule that you have that is preventing you. In other words, you have no choice. There's a rule. And when I read this, I thought, wow, this is such a simple idea. And yet it's so powerful. If somebody asks you to do something and you say, well, sorry, I've got a rule that I don't create any logos for under $500. Or I have a rule that I only help one charity per year and I'm already helping one. So sorry, maybe contact me next year. And if it could ease the people who are asking and make them feel like you're not letting them down because you have a rule, then why not give that tip a try? So anyways, as I said, when I heard this one, I thought, wow, this is really cool. I really like this one. And I thought maybe you would as well. So that's this week's tip of the week. And now, invest in yourself. You know that quote, it takes money to make money? Well, the same concept applies to growing your design business and, growing yourself as a designer for that matter. If you don't invest in yourself, you'll become stagnant, outdated, and eventually you'll become overlooked. Clients want something fresh and new, and they'll quickly tire of the same old things if that's all you present them. No business, or actually no person for that matter, can do the exact same thing over and over and over again and expect to succeed doing that. Sure, there might be some success in the short term, but you're listening to this podcast right now. And if I was to hazard a guess, I would say you listen to me because you have long-term goals. You listen to what I have to say because you either want to expand your design career or you want to grow a thriving design business. Maybe both. The only way for you to do that is to invest in yourself. But what do I mean when I say invest in yourself? I mean, in order to prosper and for you to be successful, as well as be happy with yourself, you need to make sure that you are always moving forward. Think of yourself as a shark. Certain species of sharks must keep moving if they want to breathe. If they stop moving for any length of time, they die. You need to have a similar mentality to a shark. To flourish in this business, you can't sit still. You need to keep learning, to keep improving, to keep acquiring, and so much more. I graduated from college in 1992 from a 3-year graphic design program. It was only during our 3rd year of the program that we even got to see or use a computer. And that was only for one of the classes I was taking. And for you old-timers out there, that classroom was equipped with Mac Classics and Mac Plus computers. Not sure what those are? Look them up and then have a laugh. Well, this means that most of my schooling for design was done using archaic methods compared to today's standards. I mean, we used proportion wheels, French curves, blue non-repro pencils, ruby or amberlith, Letraset rub-on type, PMT cameras, waxers, X-Acto blades, and I can go on and on. So as you can imagine, there's no way that I could have gotten from back then what I learned to today without doing a bit of investing in myself. Now, I know what you're thinking. Well, Mark, this is pretty obvious stuff. And I do agree with you. It is or should be obvious. But sometimes, and for some people, it takes a little bit of, let's call it prodding, to get things going. So today I want to share with you 7 areas where you can invest in yourself. Number 1, your equipment. Now, I always say that creativity comes from the designer, not the tools that he or she uses. Just like a skilled carpenter can still make beautiful furniture with old tools. But come on, let's face it. The creativity may come from the designer, but having newer equipment sure does help a lot. And that's why it's worth investing in the equipment you do get. I personally hate spending on new equipment, but whenever I do, I try to make sure to get the best bang for my buck. And if that means spending a bit more money up front, so be it. Now, if you've been listening for a while, you know that I'm a Mac guy. Well, one of the complaints about Macintosh computers is their price. They're so much more expensive than other computers. But to me, it's worth the investment for a peace of mind just knowing that the computer that I'm using is going to run flawlessly for years to come. I ran my previous iMac when I bought it brand new in 2010 and ran it through to 2017. And I only upgraded it because I decided I wanted something a little bit faster. So I had that same computer for design for 7 years. That was a really good investment. My 2017, I'm recording this in September of 2020 right now. I bought this computer that I'm using now, this iMac, in 2017. So it's 3 years old. And I anticipate getting a few more years out of it before I need to upgrade it again. Now, of course, there's other equipment besides your computer. Each one should be purchased with the knowledge that it's an investment. And the idea behind investing is to get the best return for your dollar. Now, number 2 is investing in software and, well, let's bulk in other online resources along with that. I'm talking about the software you use on your computer and the online resources you use, such as web hosting or paid online services and stuff, including things like fonts, graphic resources from places like Design Cuts or Creative Market, tools such as Logo Package Express, online services for creating mock-ups, maybe some project management software, bookkeeping, invoicing software, you name it. There are tons and tons of software and online services that you can use. Now, there are plenty of ways for you to do stuff for free as well. For example, GIMP is a free and somewhat robust design software. It's an alternative to the software that most designers use. But why don't more use it? It's because the investment we make in tools such as Adobe Creative Cloud, Quark Express, Affinity Designer, they make our lives easier. There are plenty of free options for backing up a WordPress website. And yet I personally pay for Backup Buddy from iThemes because that small investment that I make saves me time and it saves me the headache of dealing with problems because I know Backup Buddy will do what I need it to do. So it's worth investing in the software and the online resources that you plan on using that will help your business grow. Now, just a quick tip for you here. If you do think you're going to be using the software or online service enough, and if they offer it, I always suggest you go for the lifetime deal. Yes, it may cost more money up front, but it does pay off big time in the long run. Number 3, invest in learning. Remember what I said about my college days? The only way I got from then to now was by taking courses, watching tutorials, attending webinars, reading books, and so much more. Now, of course, times are different now than they were back then or even just a few years ago. If you want to learn something new, you can usually find someone on YouTube showing you how to do it. But YouTube and other free online resources are no substitute to taking a real class or course. I learned HTML and CSS by taking courses on lynda.com. That's how I got into web design. Now, yes, I tried taking a PHP course through Lynda as well, but as you heard Wayne say during the intro, my brain just couldn't grasp the concept behind PHP. Now, over the years, I've bought courses on Udemy, on Skillshare, on LinkedIn Learning, which is formerly lynda.com, and many other courses offered by private individuals or by companies. The difference between a paid course and something you can find for free online is, well, it's enormous. Both the quality and the content of these paid courses is so much better in almost all cases. Not to mention, the people behind these courses, the ones that you're paying for, know that you are investing, you're paying your money for their course, and they want you to like their product. Because if you like it, you'll share it with others. And if you like it, you'll possibly purchase more from them in the future. So they make sure that you get the best information possible. So when it comes to learning something new, you might want to start off with a quick YouTube search. But if you're really serious about it, find a paid course and invest in yourself. Number 4, networking and conferences. Ever since I got into this profession that we call design, I made a point of going to conferences and network events whenever I could. It's not just about what you learn at these places. It's also about the people you meet. You've heard the saying before, it's not who you know, but who knows you. That is so true. If you want to build a name for yourself, if you want to be recognized, you need to get out there and meet people so that they know who you are. Conferences and networking events are the perfect opportunity to do just that. Plus, you also have the added bonus of learning things at these conferences and networking events. If you work in a design niche, then consider attending conferences for that niche. I attend podcast conferences every year, and that's allowed me to quickly grow my podcast branding business. Now, there's also plenty of design-related conferences that you can attend as well. Adobe Max, South by Southwest. I know that AIGA has some. There's WordCamps all around the world. If you are a WordPress user or designer using WordPress, attend a WordCamp. You'll learn so much. Here in Canada, there's Design Thinkers. They have one in Toronto and one in Vancouver every year. And yes, these conferences do cost money, and some of them do cost quite a bit of money. But you really should make an effort to attend as many as you can, even if that works out to being only once every couple of years. And if attending a conference is out of your budget for right now, why not consider joining an online community? Like the Resourceful Designer community would be a perfect one for you, and it's much less expensive than attending an in-person conference. Now, there are other paid communities you can join as well. I belong to several paid podcaster communities. I also belong to a paid entrepreneur community. And there are other communities that I'm looking into as well, because I know that each one is an investment in myself that will help me grow as a designer and a business person. Number 5, invest in a team. I made what I now consider to be a huge mistake in trying to do everything myself for the first few years of running my business. And I know that I'm not alone in this. In fact, I believe that many new entrepreneurs make this exact same mistake. It's your business after all, so you think you have to do everything. It's only after I let that notion go and started hiring outside help for various tasks that I truly learned what it is to run a business. A team is not the same thing as having employees. A team is a group of specialized individuals that you can call upon should you need their skills. My personal team is made up of my accountant, my lawyer, business advisor, my virtual assistant, photographers, illustrators, programmers, copywriters, translators, and I'm probably missing a few here, but you get the idea. The point here is to use these people to help you grow and operate your design business. And I know that I just finished talking about investing in learning, but one of the things all great entrepreneurs know is when is the right time to learn something new and when is the right time to delegate. Plus, having a team means you have more time on your hands to do the things that you are good at. So investing in a team is investing in yourself. Number 6, invest in your environment. Whether you rent an office space or you work from home like I do, you want the environment, the space that you spend your days in, to not only be practical, but also reflect who you are. Take time and make the investment to turn your working space into a place that you like to hang out in. It'll make those long work days that much more enjoyable. For me, as I look around my office right now, I see, there's some of the swords from my collection hanging on my walls. I also see various dragon figurines on my shelf, including one that I got as a gift from our Resourceful Designer community Secret Santa last year. See, there's another reason for you to join the community, Secret Santa. I also see all the geeky baubles and knickknacks and things that I collect that just make me happy. And if you know me and you came into my house, there would be no mistaking that this office is mine and mine alone. I've invested in order to make it my space. So invest in yourself by investing in your environment. And if that means investing in a good set of speakers, if you're someone who likes to listen to music while working, I don't particularly like listening to music while I work, but maybe you do. If that's your thing, then invest in your speakers. Invest in good lighting so you don't strain your eyes. And please invest in a good chair. Do not skimp when it comes to the chair you're going to park your butt on for hours upon hours for the better part of the next few years. Make your space work, make it your own by investing in it. And finally, number 7, invest in your health. As a designer, you spend a lot of time sitting down in front of a computer. Don't let your love and passion for design impede your health. Remember to take breaks, get some exercise, eat healthy, even though that pantry full of junk food is so easily accessible. See your doctor, see your dentist on a regular basis. Have your eyes checked. Before COVID, I used to get massages on a regular basis, and I look forward to doing so again soon. Everything I talked about before this, every point I made, in fact, every episode I've ever released of Resourceful Designer is no good to you if you don't take care of your health. So if you're going to invest in yourself, like I've been telling you to do, I suggest you start here with your health. Now, there are plenty of other ways you can invest in yourself besides these 7 that I shared with you. But I hope this gives you an idea and creates that mentality that investing in yourself is a good thing, whether it's time, whether it's money, whether it's commitment, or whatever. Invest in yourself and you will grow and prosper. Now, I would love it if you would share how you invest in yourself. Please leave a comment for this episode by visiting resourcefuldesigner.com/episode 229. Now, before I go, I want to remind you one more time about the Resourceful Designer community, a great group of designers helping and supporting each other without all the BS and drama of other online communities. If you're looking for a group of peers to help nurture, advise, and cheer you on, then why don't you consider joining resourcefuldesigner.com/community. And remember this week's tip of the week. If you want to get out of a situation, don't just say no. Let them know that you have a rule for that, and they'll be much more inclined to accept your refusal. Well, that's it for me. I hope you have a great week, great month, and a great rest of the year. And as I go, I want to wish you all the best with your graphic design and web design business. And as I do in every podcast episode since the first one, I want to remind you to stay creative.
Thanks for listening to the Resourceful Designer Podcast at resourcefuldesigner.com.